So hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Welcome Change, our weekly news hour where we speak to social entrepreneurs from around the world about what works and what's next. Today, I'm really thrilled to have Laetitia Vasseur from France and the community from Halte à l'obsolescence programmée joining us. But before I introduce her, I just want to tell you two very quick things. One, we would love to hear from you. So please send in your questions through the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. And two, actually, we would love to hear from you. There is no second thing, just that we'd love to hear from you. So please send in your questions. Laetitia, it's so great to have you here today. You co-founded Halte à l'obsolescence programmée, Stop Planned Obsolescence in English. You're based in France and you co-founded it in 2015. But before we get into the crux of your work, what I'd really love for you to help us understand is a core concept at the center of everything that you do. And maybe one way to help us understand that would be to start with a relatively recent headline, which is that just recently, the EU Parliament adopted a new policy that will make USB-C cables, those are the charging cables for Androids, not iPhones, the new standard for all smartphones across Europe and soon for laptops as well. This could seem like it's preferential treatment for one operating system over another, but that's not what it's about. It's actually about planned obsolescence. And I would love for you to tell us what it is and why it should matter to us.
Hello, thank you for this invitation. I'm sorry because I'm not fluent, but I will do my best. So it's true that this news is very important and a good news for us because the fact is that it's connector and the charger will be universal. It's a standard, and then we don't have to have many connectors in a box, or if a company stop make this connector, you will still have a solution because it will be universal. So at the end, it will avoid a lot of waste, and it will help keep our products longer. So it's a very good news. And for the laptop, it will be in 3 years.
Right. And so this is one, there are many types of planned obsolescence that you have identified through your work. Could you describe, I think there are 3 types, could you describe what they are and why it's important to differentiate them or to know that there's more than one type even?
Yeah, we define planned obsolescence in 3 different ways, but we could also talk about premature obsolescence, because in France, planned obsolescence is now a crime. So it's it's have a juridic definition, and to have more conceptual definition, more large appreciation of obsolescence, we could also talk about premature obsolescence. And what do we mean? It's that obsolescence can be technical. So like a spare piece that will break earlier, or something is designed to break with a technical part, it's fragile, or it's not it's not made to last. But also you have or maybe you have a chip in a product that will stop the product at one time. But also we have the logicial obsolescence. It's software obsolescence. So the hardware of a machine can work very well, but it will be the soft part that will make it obsolete. So you will have when you download a new version of iOS, or this can make the products that doesn't work at all or work less. Or it will not permit reparation. So this technical logicial software obsolescence. And then there is a third way to see obsolescence, is the cultural or psychological obsolescence or aesthetical obsolescence. And here it's all the strategy with marketing and advertising to in order to make people think that they should change their product even if they are still working.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And this isn't a completely new phenomenon. Actually, from what I could see, it seems like you became aware of it after watching a documentary called The Light Bulb Conspiracy. And this documentary actually was speaking about a moment where the light bulb industry decided as a cohort that they would never make light bulbs that last more than 1,000 hours, essentially deciding the life of a light bulb will be this long, even though it could potentially be longer. And there was a call to action at the end of this movie, basically saying we need to ban this practice, planned obsolescence. You took this quite literally and really took this call to action to heart. Can you tell us, what this moment meant for you, why you decided to act on this call, and what you did at the time?
Yeah, I watched this documentary just by luck, and it meant a lot to me because I found it really I was really angry, and also I find it was like a disaster, for ecological disaster, but also as a consumer, I felt really like this is not possible. And I was working at this time in the French Senate as a parliamentary assistant, and with a MP that was in the Green Party, and I met him and I say, I have this topic of planned obsolescence. We have to do something. It's a very ecological problem. You should love it. And he told me that he didn't see really the problem, or like it seems to him a little bit boring. And I finally, he let me work on it because I was really like, yeah, but it's so important. And he let me work on it, and we actually made this new law that didn't. It was not voted as this law because the French Senate, it worked different. The government have a lot of power and the MPs doesn't have so much. But with this law, we organized new debate because it was never debated in the French Assembly. And then we work with the government to make it become a law, and finally it did, and we obtained in 2015 a crime of planned obsolescence.
And France became the first country in the world, I believe, that banned this practice, and definitely in Europe. Is that right?
Yeah, in France, it's, I think, the only country where there is a crime of planned obsolescence for now. It doesn't mean that we can't struggle against it in other countries, because you can use other tools, juridic tools, but the actual crime of planned obsolescence is only in France now. And in the European Union, we try to make it a crime also. It's a bit more difficult, and because there is strong industrial lobby, and they try to make happen the fact that if an industrial let the consumer know that he make planned obsolescence, it's legal because he has the industrial inform the consumer. But we actually want that it's illegal, and that's all, because it make a very ecological disaster that we can't just inform the consumer that we make this.
Can you tell us maybe a little bit about this ecological impact, the environmental impact of planned obsolescence?
Yeah, the fact is, for our product, and especially for the technology product, 80% of the global environmental footprint come from manufacturing. So it's extraction of raw materials, and all the phase of manufacturing that pollute a lot the environment, and it's 80%. It's huge. So when we actually buy a product, we actually made already our footprint. So that's why we really want that to extend the lifespan of product, in order that when we build something, we keep it as long as possible for our usage or for other usage in a second life or third life for someone else, because we avoid this 80% of manufacturing. And this is really important. And then, of course, when we throw a product to the rubbish bin a little bit earlier, then we collect an amount of waste, e-waste and waste that we struggle to manage, because recycling is one opportunity to make it better, but it's actually not so good. It wastes a lot of energy, and we don't know how to recycle all the product, and it's never 100% of recycling. So it's not the answer of an ecological disaster. And one of a big answer is how to keep them longer, how to reuse them differently, and to produce less in some way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I read recently that electronics are now the fastest growing source of waste in the world. So what you describe is of astronomical proportions. And so it makes a complete sense that you would want to deal with this before it's even comes to life, right? So, okay, so you painted a picture for us of, why planned obsolescence, what it is, and the fact that you've already in 2015, you were part of making it a crime in France to ensure that this was no longer a standard practice. You decided to leave the Senate, though, because you were more interested in ensuring that this law and other things surrounding planned obsolescence would actually become a reality than staying, I guess, in that setting. Basically, you realize that a law on the books isn't worth so much if it's not being implemented, right? And so you took Apple to court. It was one of your first landmark cases. Can you tell us, what was the case against Apple for, and what happened?
Yeah, when we won this new law, because I come from the Senate, I know that a law, just for a law, it's not useful, because people don't even know and they don't use it. So, and it's really difficult to prove that some industrial made planned obsolescence intentionally. So I create this association, HOP, for Stop Planned Obsolescence, to collect case and to show that if someone have a problem with maybe a laptop, maybe someone else also have it, and you alone, you will not do lawsuit and all this. It's quite difficult, but if we are many people, it's more evident and it's more easy to work together. So we create this association in this order, and finally in 2017 we saw a statistic study that came from the US actually, and showed that a lot of people had problem with their iPhone, and also we could show that they changed for a new iPhone, and it was exactly at the moment of the new iPhone in the market, were implemented in the market. So, and after this statistic study that show a lot of people after uploading a new iOS had a lot of trouble with their phones. The one representative of iPhone say that they knew that when people will upload the new iOS, they may have problem. Mm-hmm. And so for us, this was a case of planned obsolescence, because they push you to download this new iOS, but knowing that you will probably have problem when they actually put on the market a new iPhone and making the promotion of it. And we use the crime of planned obsolescence, but also other juridical tools. Pratique commerciale trompeuse. I don't know how to translate, but each country have
misleading commercial practices. Yeah, that's not a legal term, but translating, yeah.
And then they actually had to pay 25 million of euros and make advertising on their website that they had been they were condemned about this condemnation.
Mm-hmm. So it was maybe a bigger blow to their reputation even than to their wallets, I assume.
Yeah, it's our strategy to make in one environment to make it illegal and to have a fine. It's important and it's symbolic, but also to make it public. This is for Apple in specifically, and for all the brands. It's really bad for their image. So we want that they care about the problem, and if they care about their image, they will maybe care to make products that last longer and not making planned obsolescence, because they want their clients satisfied. And if the client is not satisfied because there is planned obsolescence and they make it know, the media talk about it, it have a bigger influence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I find really fascinating about your work, Laetitia, is that we can kind of see you building a new architecture block by block. You know, first you notice this is a problem in the first place. Let's make it illegal. Let's make sure that the law is implemented. But then it also became clear to you, as these pieces were coming together, that there was an information gap both for the consumers and for the lawmakers around how repairable are these products, how much is planned obsolescence part of the design of these companies' products. And so you set out with your team to build a repairability index. And I see a question here in the Q&A already coming in saying, do you grade or rank companies on planned obsolescence so consumers can avoid the biggest offenders? To me, this kind of links back to this repairability index. So can you tell us a little bit about what it is, how it works? If I'm a consumer citizen actually going into a store, how do I interact with this repairability index?
Yeah, because for me, it's not enough to struggle against planned obsolescence, because it's quite difficult to prove, and it can be maybe some isolated case. But even if we tackle planned obsolescence, we have to watch in a review more general, the lifespan of products, and can we extend their lifespan, even if it's a strategy, not strategy, intentional or no. Mm-hmm. The matter is to extend their lifespan, because 3-4 years, even 5 years is not enough when we buy and when we produce something new. And one way to make them the product last longer is to make them more repairable. Because sometimes maybe we can have a failure in our product. It can be normal in the normal life of a product, but if we can't repair it, then we have a big problem. And we work in France making a repairability index that is mandatory. And it concerns, for instance, smartphone, computer, wash machine, mower, different kind of product of our daily life. And there is 5 criteria, big family of criteria, like do you have notice and information to know how the product is built and where to see, to make the diagnostic and to see where exactly you have to change something. There is also another criteria about can we disassembly the product and reassembly, because sometimes you can disassembly, but it's really difficult to put it again after without to break. So this is really important. And then do you have the spare parts available? And do the spare parts are available at a cheap price? It's another criteria in France. And then sometimes there is a specific criteria, because we don't care of a smartphone like a wash machine, because in the smartphone you have a software part that you don't have necessarily in the wash machine. So it can have different criteria depending on the product. And then you have a grade up to 10. If you have 9 or 10, it's a good note, and it's good repairability index. And if you are in France, if you have like 6 or even 7, it's not so great. It's quite bad, and you can't actually repair it. So this helps us a lot to manage to make consumer to empower the consumer to be able to buy something that will be repairable. Otherwise, they don't know when they buy something or another. They can't know if it will be repairable or not. And also, as it's public information and mandatory information, it pushes the industrial to make it better, because they are in a competition game with the others. And if, like Apple, they have 6 to 10 and Samsung 8 to 10, there's a big gap. And when you, as a consumer, you hesitate between 2 brands, this could influence your choice.
And in France, you have also just recently, I think in December or January, launched a repair fund. Is that right? So also to deal with the cost associated with repairability. Sometimes people don't decide to repair, not because it's not possible, but because it's more expensive or seems more expensive than buying something new. So can you tell us about how the economics work there? What's the repair fund?
It's really important to care about that, because, of course, to make people be able to buy something more repairable, it's great, but it's not enough, because when you have a failure after 2 years of warranty, it's actually your responsibility to pay for this reparation, and you will not do it if it's not rentable, if it's not a good quality price. So, and if a new product is the same price, for instance, it will make maybe no sense for you. So we work on it, and we saw that actually 70% of people don't repair because of the cost. So we wanted to make it easier, to give a bonus, to help people, to give an incentive to repair, and we succeed to have the mandatory fund of reparation. It's actually the industrials that pay like a mini tax that is collected by an organism that finance this fund. And this fund is used by reparators that are labelized in Calier Répar. It's a new label to trust this reparator, because there is also this question: who can you trust? So we can trust normally this reparator of Calier Répar. And as a consumer, it's really easy. We wanted actually to make it really easy and really accessible. Everyone can go to see a reparator Calier Répar and ask for a reparation cheaper, and they will pay directly cheaper. And it will be the reparator that will ask for the money to this fund directly. And you can get until 45 euros to repair a laptop, for instance, or 25 euros for a smartphone.
Yeah, very, very interesting. There's some questions coming in from the audience, one of which is, how can the repairability index be implemented in the rest of Europe?
Yeah.
Is this underway?
Yeah, it's on the way. So we also claim to European Union to tackle this problem of planned obsolescence, circular economy, and to make products more durable and repairable. And they engage themselves to make durable product the norm in the EU and the European Union, and to make a repair index mandatory in all Europe for different type of products. And for instance, we may see it in 2025 for smartphone and tablet, as the European Union is making their own repair index. The only bad news for now is that they don't take the index of the price of spare part. And for us, this is really important, because you can't say that it's repairable if your spare parts is the price of a new product, for instance. So it will be a lie for consumer to say that it will be repairable if it's actually too expensive to repair.
Right. So this links to another question that came from the audience around what you see as the main barriers to wider adoption of laws against, I mean, in this case, we were just talking about repairability, but the person asks about making planned obsolescence a crime the same way that it has been in France. So you said at the European level, it's harder because of industry pressure, but can you tell us a little bit more about some of the barriers you see to this being labeled as a crime in other geographies?
For me, there is no lot of barrier. If it's a crime in France, it can be somewhere else. So it's in France. It was funny for me when I came to the Ashoka Summit in Belgium, because I had an interview with a Belgian guy, and he asked me, "But do you think a planned obsolescence exists really?" And it's a question that in France, a lot of people asked me 10 years ago. And now no one asked me if it exists for real. And it's a main maybe problem. It's a cultural problem to invest the problematic in general. The industry make people think that if there is a problem with your products, it's your fault. It's because you don't use it good enough. And it's absolutely not their problem and not their responsibility. And when you start inversing the problem and saying maybe it's your responsibility to know how many years it can last, and did you use a good component and the smart piece to make it repairable and durable, they don't like it. They deny their responsibility and they say, of course we do the best product. So it can't exist, planned obsolescence. It's a cultural gap that you need to tackle. But when France, as we start working on it, and it was like it was really impressive for me, because all media and consumer are starting joining the cause, because they feel empathy with this cause, and they think, yeah, I actually think they made it on purpose. I am sure this can't happen because it's exactly 2 years after the warranty, or sometimes it happens stories to you that is reflecting planned obsolescence. When you see it, you think, wow, this can't be something else. So then when all these people that thinking in their head, they join to a cause and they made this weight in the balance. There is a industry that say no, it doesn't exist, but they say, yeah, the population say and consumers say yes, it exists, and there is a new way to see it, and legislation can happen.
And speaking of consumers, you actually gathered a coalition of 70,000 consumers who are invested in this cause. You also have 30 or so companies in France who are not saying, no, it's not a problem, but they're actually leading the way and finding ways for them not to be part of this problem. So can you tell us, both on the citizen side, what roles can people play, whether it's in France now with the opportunities that you're already creating, but maybe in other places where they're not as far along? Belgium, you mentioned now, but other places. And then also tell us about maybe a little bit the work that you're doing with this cohort of 30 companies in France.
Yeah, we try to federate as much as possible consumers, to protect them, to defend their rights, and especially also we want to empower them to defend themselves against planned obsolescence, to not be victim of it. And yes, there is a legal way to attack industrial, but also in our daily life we can do something to extend the lifespan of products. So we created a website called Durables Products .fr, and this website give advice to know how to buy, what are the criteria to select a product that will last, how to repair when something is something break, and the good tips to make it more easy for people, and also with a map to know where you can do it close to your house, these kind of things. And also we work with companies to show that, because it's important for us to show that to fight against planned obsolescence is not just for angry citizen or activist, but that it's actually something we need to change in reality, and it's an economical problem that we need to tackle and to go in another direction, or maybe more circular economy. And to make that happen, we need to show that also the industry is ready, or some industrial are ready to make it different, and it's not an utopia. It's really possible. So it's pragmatically possible. So we work with companies. There are now 35 with this big name, and more smaller companies. Some are really excellent and they do a great job, like maybe Fairphone. They are not in our club, but they do a great job. But some are in the way to change, and they do a lot of good things. They are not still maybe the best of what we could hope, but they are really doing a strong effort to change the way to act in, and then to offer products that are more repairable and durable. A lot of services of reparation also that maybe some people don't know enough. We try to push and to encourage them to take a bigger place. And I think it's for now a good success. And it's for us also very important, because if as a consumer you want to repair more, if it's really difficult, you don't have any reparator close to your house, or it's really expensive, you will not do it. So we actually need companies to offer services and products that will offer us alternatives for a better consumption. So in this order, we like working with some companies and animate this dynamic about circular economy and durable and repairable products.
I'm going to ask you two quick last questions, because we're just coming to an end here. One of them is coming from the audience. People are very interested to know if you have partners outside of France or Europe. Do you partner with organizations in the US? Are there people on your radar that you would recommend, outside of the French context, people can connect to?
I know that in Canada, there is an association that work on it. It's Equiterre. And
also an Ashoka Fellow.
And also no, otherwise the other country, I don't know a lot of organization. I know that in the US there is a strong right to repair, but I don't know exactly who is dealing with it. And in Europe, no, I know that zero waste sometimes work on this topic also, but they are maybe more on plastic or other difficulties with rubbish. But in France, they are alive on this topic. And no, it's quite new topics that in other country there is no lot of associations that work, NGOs that work on it. Then you have the Repair Cafe that in a lot of places happened, but it's more concrete to actually repair the product and not making lobbying.
So then this is a call to action to all of us here in our own respective countries. There's a lot of work to be done, and the pioneer that we can draw inspiration from, which is Laetitia and her team. Maybe just one last thing to see us off, which is maybe looking into the future. You've already accomplished actually quite a lot in just actually less than 10 years. You said 2015 is when this law was passed in France. We have a lot to be thankful for and appreciative for. But when you look to the future, 5 or 10 years ahead, what keeps you optimistic? What do you look forward to? What comes next?
Yeah, I think we obtain a lot of progress for the electronic and electric device, but maybe not so much in textile area for the clothes, and it's an industry that pollute a lot, and where the products could last longer also. And in other area like cars and furniture. So we could attack a lot of sectors because the durability is a very transversal problem. And also, I would like to have more impact in the European Union because we are in front of international companies, and the market, the unique French market is good, but it's not enough. So if it could be for all Europe, it will have more massive impact. And then if we can influence and have good influence in other countries, we have been and there is like Taiwan or Australia, they call us to know how did we do the repair index, and they want to do the same. And this could be a very good progress also. So I am optimistic about getting products that are more repairable. But then I would like also that they are more durable, and that this index include also durability, like do they are robust and without failure, because it's what matters for us as a consumer at the end. And also I would like to tackle even more software obsolescence and cultural obsolescence, because this is a big area to tackle that for now I think we are not, we are only on the beginning.
So Laetitia, thank you so much for your work and for this conversation today. To everyone who joined us, you'll receive a link with video and some highlights later on. If you want to join us next week, I believe there are links in the chat. We'll be speaking with a fellow in the US about language access. So very different topic, and sign up to join us weekly. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Laetitia.
Thank you.